Hello, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Luthfi Assyathiriy. In this video, I made for my OAS or for my last assignment in literature appreciation. And now in this video, I want to talk about literary works. Okay, the first slide. What is the first lines? What is a literary work? A literary work, and human personal expression in the form of the image that can arouse calm with language tools and are depicted in writing form, such as experience, thought, feelings, ideas, enthusiasm, and beliefs. And also there are many kinds of literary work. They are poetry, fiction, prose, historical fiction, short story, fantasy, novel, lyric, graphic novel. And I want to explain one of them. Okay, the first literary work is poetry. Okay, the first literary works is poetry. Poetry, also called verse, is a form of literature that uses aesthetic and often rhythm qualities of language, such as phonesthetic, sound symbolism, and matter to evoke meanings in addition to or in place of process ostensible meaning. And the next is fiction. Fiction is any creative work, chiefly any narrative work, portraying individuals, events, or places that are imaginary, or in ways that are imaginary. Fictional portrayals are thus inconsistent with history, fact, or plausibility. And the next literary work is prose. Prose is a form of literary art that is described by using language that is free and hence not to be bound by rhythm, diction, rhyme, shortness, or rules, and other literary guidelines. The next is historical fiction. Historical fiction is a literary genre in which the plot takes place in setting relate to the past events but is fictional. The next is short story. A short story is a piece of prose fiction that typically can be read in one sitting and focus one a self-contained incident or series of linked incidents with the intent or evoking a single effect or mood. The next is fantasy. Fantasy literature is literature set in imaginary universe, often but not always without any locations, events, or people from the real world. Magic, the supernatural and magical creatures are common in many of these imaginary worlds. Fantasy literature may be direct and at both children and adults. The next literary work is novel. Yeah, a novel is a relatively long work of narrative fiction, typically written in prose and published as a book. And the next is lyric. Modern lyric poetry is a formal type of poetry which expresses personal emotions or feelings, typically spoken in the first person. And the last is graphic novel. Yeah, graphic novel is a long form fictional work as sequential art. The term graphic novel is often applied broadly, including fiction, non-fiction, and anthological work, though this practice is highly contested by comic scholars and industry professionals. Okay, the next I want to analyze and explain about about the poetry titled Jagged Bird in 19 Assyathiriy, poetry by Maya Angelou. Okay, about poetry. The poetry in her first autobiographical book, I Know Why the Shaggy Bird Sings, were worldwide success. Maya Angelou's subsequent works gained popularity. Her poetry Shaggy Bird, which depicts black people as Shaggy Bird, tells the story of appreciation and persecution in the United States or in the United States. This is a real life issue in America where people still have conflict about discrimination, including bullying and racism. The suppression of rights and freedoms depicted in the autobiographical novel I Know Why the Shaggy Bird Sings. In the poem, Shaggy Bird is depiction of the lives of black women in the era of enslavement of black people by white people, and even block the suppression of rights and freedoms depicted in the autobiographical novel I Know Why the Shaggy Bird Sings. In the poem, Shaggy Bird is depiction of the lives of black women in the era of enslavement of black people by white people, and even black people against members of their own community. It raises the overarching issue of how difficult it is to be a black woman living with appreciation. And the next, the theory. I take one theory for this poetry from Alport in 1954 and Teichfeld, Ian Turner, and Kales 1985. Okay. Feel the emergency of prejudice due to the categorization process within individuals. It is also asserted that social categorization is the psychological basis for the emergency of prejudice. The categorizations includes ethnicity and the tendency to maintain social distance from people who are considered outgroup. Okay, the last is mandate. The mandates from this poetry. There are three the mandate of the poetry. The first is every human being has honor, dignity, and human right. And the second, respect every difference that exists in every human being. And the third, cultivate the courage, the defend the honor that is human right. Okay, I think that is my video for my segment. Thank you very much for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.